everyone, I'm here today to share with you guys some products that I have purchased for my newborns at some point or another that I kind of wish I hadn't bought. And not because they're poor quality or anything like that, but just I find I wasn't using them, and by like baby number 2 I was like, well, this was silly. And if you find a lot of use for these, awesome, that's really good, and I'm glad because you know what, I wish I had use for them, but I don't, and that's why we're here. So I hope you guys like this video. If you do, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos every Saturday. And without further ado, let's get into this. So the first product I want to talk about are products that I feel like every new mom always reaches for, and then after the fact, after you buy a whole bunch of them, realize, you know what, I never used them. And those are those outfits, those really adorable outfits they have to like put over their head. First of all, babies hate when you put things over their head. They hate them. And also when they're newborns and they're so little, like at least for me, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna break them. I'm like trying to put this over their head. I'm like, this wasn't worth it. This wasn't worth it. I much prefer onesies. Both of my babies lived in onesies for the first 3 to maybe even 6 months of their lives. Whether they're button up or zip up, they don't have to go over their heads. They're easy, they're snuggly, they're warm and comfy, and they're just so ridiculously easy. They're easy to wash. They are relatively inexpensive. You can find them in bulk from places like Carter's and stuff like that. But I just found myself reaching for those onesies a lot more often, you know, than the 4-piece ensemble that Julia would wear once at Christmas. And I was like, wow, I apparently like to waste money. Adorable, not so practical. The next item I want to talk about are those fancy burp cloths, the ones that are labeled as burp cloths. If you're using them to put on your shoulders to burp your babies, I would recommend just going out and buying some like cheap hand towels and things like that from Walmart, because they're easy to replace if they get stained. They are still pretty durable and they're cheap, and just, I don't know, I found myself using those a lot more often. Then I can use them for like wiping up the floor if I need to. I can toss them in the laundry, like it's not a big deal. And don't get me wrong, the cloths are beautiful, they're soft. I have a bunch because I got them for Julia's baby shower, but I don't know, looking back on it, I just found that I was reaching for those like really cheap Walmart cloths a lot more often, and I had more of them. They were much more inexpensive, and yeah, just a better buy for me. Next up, we're gonna talk about the really fancy diaper pails. Now don't get me wrong, diaper pails are great. They serve a very valuable purpose, but there was one that I remember seeing on Toys R Us, and it was like the most like well-rated one, and it had this special thing where it like the lid lifted up and then it twisted the bags down. It had these special bags that like clipped closed, so you're never going to smell anything. And by the time I was actually using it, it would always jam up, it would never fully close, then the lid would break off. It was just such a pain, and I really hated it. Plus, you don't realize how often you go through those like plastic bag things to fill up with diapers until you're on like, you know, month 8 of diapers, and you're like, wow, that was a lot of diaper bags. I just find that the ones where you can just use the refillable little plastic bag things that come in like a set of 3, you can get them from like Costco and stuff like that, are just a lot more useful. And honestly, for the first couple of months, if your baby is being exclusively breastfed, they really don't, like the diapers don't smell that bad, to be honest. And I would just use like a normal garbage can, and it would be totally fine as long as you're changing it relatively often, I guess. But like it's not as bad as when they start having solids. Then yes, get a diaper pail, but you don't need to invest in like a really super expensive fancy ones. Now onto the different baby carriers that are out there. There are wraps, there are actual carrier things, slings, all sorts of different options. And I remember before Julia was actually born, I was kind of going around and I wanted to pick out the best one and like which one was I gonna wear and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, I wish I had waited until Julia had actually arrived to try it out in the store and like a walk around some more and like really get a feel for what I was gonna be comfortable with and what Julia was gonna be comfortable with, because Julia hated the wrap thing. Like it was just too much. She wanted to like have her arms free to like move around, and she wanted to see things. Same with Luke. Didn't want to be like pinned down, and some babies love that, but like Luke and Julia, not so much. So I think that for a lot of things, I wish I had waited until they were born. And I know how it feels when you're a new mom and you want to be prepared, you want to have everything ready, everything like all laid out, just like around the bassinet, so you are prepared for any situation. But there are some things that just you don't need right away, and you can wait on a little bit, like a stroller, like a Bobo wrap, things like that that aren't necessary right from the first couple of days, and you can do a nice outing, you can make it like a family trip out, and you can test them out in store once you get a sense of what your baby's going to need and what you're going to need. Are you going to be running around doing errands a lot? Do you want something that's like a stroller? Do you want them attached to you? There's all sorts of different ways, and you're only going to find out by kind of going through it and experimenting. And I find like having your baby with you makes that process a lot easier. Now on to another that fits into the category of like adorable but useless, and that is the newborn baby shoe. Don't get me wrong, it's really cute seeing a little baby lie down. They have these like adorable little patent shoes on. Really cute. But babies that age aren't walking, and they're not even trying to walk. So it's kind of useless. If you want to put something on their feet, do like a full onesie thing. Those are awesome. And again, my kids lived in them. You could do slippers if it's, you know, getting on the chillier side, or socks, but like honestly, those like full on onesies are so much easier, especially when they start kicking their legs and trying to like kick off the socks. You lose so many socks that way, I can't even tell you. But yeah, no, not the most practical choice, and kind of wish I had avoided that. Next up is an item that I believe I got as a baby shower gift, I think. I don't remember buying it, but I'm not 100% sure. And it's the sleep sheep, and it's this little like stuffed animal kind of thing, and it has between 25 to 45 minutes of different sounds. They have like a whale sound and like a river rushing and like heartbeat. Like they have all sorts of different sounds within it to help your baby fall asleep. In general, I like that concept, and I love our noise machine, but I prefer the noise machine. I'll put a link down below in case you guys are interested in the one that we use for both of our kids. But the sleep sheep I didn't love because I didn't want to put it in the crib with them because it's got all these like mechanical things in it, and Julia just wanted to like press all the buttons and like turn up the volume. And then it also only played for 45 minutes. And if a baby's sleep cycle is like 45 minutes, then when they notice the change and all of a sudden the music is off, they're gonna wake up, and it just was so frustrating. So I ended up just not using it, and I used it sometimes in the car, and then for Luke I didn't use it at all. So that was just one of those things that didn't work for my kids. I know a lot of parents that use them for their kids and they love them, but for me it just wasn't super useful. And lastly are those little pee-pee teepees, as they call them, for the little baby boys that you may be having, and you kind of fit them over their general area to prevent it from having them pee in your face. And this is what I was told about having a baby boy, is that they were going to pee all over you and it would be disaster, and you need these in your life. And then I had them and I was like, I'm never using these. These are ridiculous. I just found myself reaching for those like little baby washcloths a lot more often if I needed to, or I just became very efficient of like putting the clean diaper on top, removing the dirty diaper, and like doing it all that way. And I just found I wasn't reaching for them. They would get stuck in a drawer, and they're like this small, of course, so you can never find them. And then you have to wash them. It was just a big ordeal. And if you guys watched last week's video, I talked about how much I love baby washcloths, and since I had so many of them anyway, I was just finding that I would use those a lot more often if I needed to. But yeah, these things, they're cute and they're a great idea, but not so useful for myself. And that's everything for this video. Give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos every Saturday. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys have any baby products that you've purchased for yourself that you just found that you weren't using that often, or any products that you have in general that you just find weren't really useful for your newborn. I would love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. I will see you guys all in my next video. Love you girls. Mwah.